Friends, let me ask you something right off the top. What would you do if your province suddenly decided it had had enough? Not just fed up with Ottawa, not just angry at broken promises, but ready to walk away forever. That's the reality unfolding in Alberta. A single question is hanging in the air, shaking Canada's foundations. Do you agree that the province of Alberta shall become a sovereign country and cease to be a province in Canada? Think about that. That isn't just political theater. That's a line in the sand. If enough Albertans say yes, we're not talking about tinkering around the edges anymore. We're talking about blowing up Confederation as we know it. And here's the kicker. Once you cross that line, nobody really knows what comes next. Maybe Alberta becomes fully independent. Maybe it flirts with the idea of becoming America's 51st state. Or maybe Ottawa scrambles to renegotiate the deal that holds this country together. The truth is, we're staring at uncharted territory. And that's exactly why the federal government is terrified. Right now, every trick in the bureaucratic playbook is being deployed to stall, delay, and confuse. Court challenges, technicalities, media attacks. Suddenly, we're told the referendum question isn't worded properly. We're told Albertans can't be trusted to decide their own future until some federal judge gives the green light. And yet, under the law, Elections Alberta was supposed to help shape the wording of the question in good faith. They never reached out. They never offered fixes. Why? Because this is about delay. Delay until Albertans lose momentum. Delay until the fire dies down. But groups like the Alberta Prosperity Project aren't backing off. They've made it clear they'll fight in court for as long as it takes. And if Premier Danielle Smith chooses to bypass Ottawa and put the question forward herself, she has that power. The Constitution may not even stop her. Now, ask yourself, what happens when the Premier decides Ottawa has had its last chance? She's already playing chess, not checkers. She's laid out demands she knows the federal Liberals will never meet. While Ottawa drags its heels, she's on the ground hosting town halls, rallying Albertans, reminding them of every broken promise. And when those demands inevitably collapse, she'll hold up the evidence. Confederation cannot be salvaged. Alberta deserves a new path. That's not just strategy, that's a roadmap to freedom, written one betrayal at a time. But here's where it gets even deeper. It's not just about independence, it's about what comes after. If Alberta does become its own nation, what kind of country would it be? Some thinkers are pushing bold constitutional ideas. Instead of the government holding unlimited power except for a few carved-out rights, imagine flipping the script. The government has no power unless it is specifically listed. Think about the difference. Instead of begging for freedoms, citizens would hold the default power. Government would exist only to keep the peace, defend borders, and handle the basics. That's it. Nothing more. That's the radical vision of a new Alberta Constitution. And this isn't just theory, it's fueled by frustration. Alberta looks east and sees a very different Canada, centralized, bureaucratic, increasingly disconnected from prairie values. Ottawa may be the capital, but for many Albertans, it feels like another country entirely. One that votes differently, thinks differently, and governs with a heavy hand. Now here's where the plot thickens. Whenever independence groups start gaining ground, what happens? They fracture. People blame egos. But veterans of the movement whisper something else: outside forces. Global actors, insiders, even Ottawa-friendly operatives slipping into the movement, fanning division and collapsing groups from within. It's not paranoia, it's politics. Break the movement from the inside before it gets too strong. That's why, this time, things look different. Instead of one giant banner, independence groups are sprouting everywhere. Different names, different strategies, but the same ultimate goal. That way, if one gets compromised, the others carry on. It's harder to knock down a forest than a single tree. And Alberta's independence movement is becoming exactly that, a forest, growing thicker by the day. Now, let me be blunt. This is no longer a fringe conversation. This is no longer about a few voices in backrooms. This is dinner table talk across Alberta. Everyday people, farmers, workers, business owners, are asking if their future really lies in a country that seems determined to ignore them. The federal government says this is illegal. The courts say you must wait. But Albertans are asking, why? Why do we need permission to decide our own future? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. When people start believing they are ruled, not represented, the cracks in a country only get wider. And right now, those cracks are looking more like fault lines. But let me add something that too many people are ignoring. If Alberta really does step out, it won't stop there. Think about Saskatchewan. Think about British Columbia. Even Manitoba. Once one province proves it can leave, or even seriously threaten to, the others will start asking the same question. And suddenly, the Canadian experiment that has lasted more than 150 years starts looking like it could unravel in a matter of years. Ottawa knows this. That's why the fear is so thick. This isn't just Alberta's fight, it's the potential spark for a Western Bloc, a coalition that could either demand a complete renegotiation of Confederation or carve out a brand new country altogether. And let's not forget our neighbors to the south. Washington is watching closely. Some in the U.S. see opportunity, energy deals, trade routes, new pipelines flowing south instead of east. Others see danger, instability on the northern border at a time when global politics are already on edge. If Alberta were to ever flirt with becoming the 51st state, that wouldn't just change the map. It would shake the very foundation of North America's balance of power. So where does this end? Maybe in another drawn-out legal battle. Maybe in Ottawa pretending to listen while never giving ground. Or maybe, just maybe, in Albertans choosing to take their destiny into their own hands, regardless of what the courts or Ottawa think. And friends, that's why I call this the undiscovered country. No map. No precedent. No guarantees. Just a people who feel they've had enough and a government running out of ways to stop them. Now, whether you agree with independence or not, one thing is clear. This is no longer just politics. It's history unfolding in real time. And mark my words, this story is far from over. If you've followed me all the way to this point, thank you. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because the battles ahead, both in the courts and in the streets of Alberta, are only going to get louder. And trust me, you're going to want to know every twist and turn as it happens. Until next time, stay sharp, stay engaged, and never stop asking the hard questions.